discipleship in Christendom, mentoring in the secular, it's not the same thing. Because we don't know it's not the same thing, we just do it the same way. Is a problem. So deliberately, I want us to stick to the one the Bible talks about, which is discipleship. Go ye, make disciples of all nations. So it's scriptural, making disciples. This will make us to understand that there may be certain uniqueness with discipleship, which may not be popular with mentoring and mentorship. So mentorship is more of the secular. I'm an accountant, for instance, and by God's grace, I have some professionals. I have people in my profession I mentor. They don't need to be Christians. I mentor them. So many of them are working in organizations. When they have questions or they are stuck anywhere, they contact me. Oh, guy, how do we go about this? Or what do you do to this? So I mentor them from time to time. Oh, we have some people coming to our office, come for IT. From that, mentorship develops, and we continue to mentor them, to guide them in that profession. They don't need to be Christians. That is mentor. So all professionals mentor. Those people we put as our referees most of the time, they are our mentors, career mentors. So let's use mentoring in those cases and in those instances. It's better, it's applicable. So in that case, before such mentorship starts, sometimes there could be something that makes it formal. Somebody contacted me during the week, said they got our contact online and they wanted to come for his IT in our office. I said, well, because it is mentoring, Abi, we have to make it formal. So go and submit your letter in our office, making it formal. Secular mentoring like this requires formality because we don't differentiate between mentoring and discipleship. When anybody approaches some people for discipleship too, they request him to write letter because we just don't see any difference. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. Christianity is a kingdom. It's different. In this kingdom, what we know is discipleship. What the Bible talks about is discipleship. It is not mentoring. So if we don't put this clear distinction, we will not know the evil we are doing when we disciple like mentors. Yes, when we disciple like mentors in the secular. So let us first get that very, very clear so that it will help us to know when we are simply mentoring as professionals and when we are doing what we're expected to do as believers in Christ. Let me quickly rush some of the points I have here. What I'm emphasizing is that henceforth, let us use more appropriate word, disciple, and we may avoid mentoring so that it will be so definite that we are talking to Christians. So make disciples of all nations, not disciples after ourselves, disciples after Christ. Raise disciples for Christ. That is what it means. That is in for us to get that one. That one's clear. And it is good. Just as it operates in the secular has excesses and all kinds, but there are scriptural ways we can understand it. The practical one, you can see Jesus, the disciples. But we must understand that, like somebody who is discipling somebody in the body now, we may not be able to fit in into every position Jesus fits into. Because during the earthly ministry of Jesus, Jesus was both man and God. So if we want to disciple well, we must then trust God to make us see when was Jesus really discipling as man, or when was he acting as God to the disciples. I don't know whether this is clear enough. So we must be able to identify when Jesus was acting like God to the disciples. And it's indeed it was God, and it's still God to them and to us. And when he was just acting as somebody who was discipling them, we have not really put this distinction. So you see somebody who is discipling another is acting like Jesus anytime. You just say, Jesus said, except you drink my blood, except you eat my flesh, you have no part in me. That one is exclusive for Jesus and for him when he's acting as God, being God. I just cited that as a practical example. So there will be other instances where Jesus will act to his disciples as God. We must be able to differentiate that if we're able to disciple properly and see the pattern, the way he disciples. What I just observed is that in his own discipleship, he was not lording it over his disciples. In fact, most times when they wanted to eat, sometimes he'll be the one to eat last. He was not bossing it, and there was not requesting them to be serving him per se. He even mentioned it, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. So these are things you must understand. So when Jesus is acting like Son of Man, we must be able to identify that, differentiating it from when he's actually acting like God, which he really is. So why we got it confused is what I'm talking about. Why we got it missing is what I'm talking about. If somebody will disciple another, we just want to act like Jesus all the time. Anything you see Jesus doing with the disciples, we want to do. No, you can't fit into everything. Jesus could be acting as God at times, and they could be acting as somebody who is discipling others at times. So let's try and differentiate between this. And those of us they want to disciple too, don't have such expectation as Jesus was to the disciples during his earthly ministry, and say, yes, in fact, during the earthly ministry, in fact, when they needed food like this, Jesus will always provide food for them. So when somebody is not discipling you, you believe he's the one to provide your food all the time. No, no, no. Jesus was God. Are we together now? Yes. This I'm saying, to get proper understanding of discipleship this day, let's differentiate Jesus as Son of Man and Jesus as God. When we're able to differentiate this from the way he related with his disciples, we will know all of those things that are expected of somebody who is discipling another for Christ. I've mentioned avoid formalizing this discipleship. It's not something that's supposed to be formal. Bring a letter. I will look at the letter after I'm satisfied with what the way you have written it, and I will mark your English in that letter too. It's part of what will qualify you. That is when I will now determine whether I will disciple you, and they will reach an agreement. How many months discipleship do you want to run with me? When will you finish? And so, no, let's stop this kind of a formal mentorship. It's the same way we do IT in organizations. Discipleship is not that. Jesus chose those his disciples that they might be with him. And really, discipleship is something that's to be continuous, perpetual. Relationship to be perpetual, to be continuous. So this formal thing we are doing does not seem to have correct pattern in the Bible. Discipleship, it used to be natural. Then we should make them learn from other believers too. That's another wahala we used to do. We just become like monitoring spirit. Anytime you hear him maybe listening to another person's message, you just pick offense and the likes, or reading another person's book, maybe. As much as you may ask question, oh, how about that? What did you hear from that message? Do you have any question? Is it clear to you? And the likes, you can discuss it. But the way many of us do it is that we have positioned them as if they are never to listen to any other thing again. No, that is not the kind of discipleship we found in Jesus. Let us make them learn from other believers too, wherever they go. The target is how that they will be able to relate with Christ independently, and how that they also will be able to disciple others. So don't let us lose focus of this objective of discipleship, and don't let us turn discipleship to mentoring as it is in the secular.
Thank you for listening to this message. Follow us for more scriptural messages as this. You can follow us on all our social media handles on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can call us on the number showing on your screen for more information. Thank you, and God bless you.